If you want to discover the best fishing spots near Portland and how to make the most of your summer evenings after work, along with our favorite local spots that we hit after work, you're in the right place. Today we're covering hidden gems, gear tips, quick escapes that fit into your schedule and take full advantage of those 9 p.m. sunsets. Welcome back to the Portland Fly Shop Podcast. This is episode number 2. We made it past episode number 1. My name is Jason. I am the host.
I'm Nick. I'm the co-host here.
And we got a special guest, Bruce Berry, our hefty friend from Oregon City.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Bruce. So, real quick introduction on Bruce. He has been in Portland damn near his entire life, mostly Oregon City area. The reason we have him on this episode is because this is the world he lives in. He's one of the few people that really love creeking and small river fishing, and he's just one of us, honestly. In case you don't know, most of you have met Bruce, but he is the Beulah Fly Rods rep, the Montana Fly Company sales rep, and the Hatch Reels sales rep. So kind of big time. Kind of glad we got him to fit in our schedule. And then last time we were talking about Trout Hunter. He's also the Trout Hunter rep. Forgot that one, but super important brand that we love to death. So we got Bruce. That's him.
Say hi, Bruce.
Hey, everybody.
And here we go. We are ready to rock and roll and talk to you all about local fishing in Portland that you can do all summer long and just get after it and make the most out of your summer.
And then a few just like little tidbits I have to throw into Bruce, because just like he's such a good fly designer. He came up with a hotspot girdle bug, which is basically putting a girdle bug on a jig hook. So good job.
With the
Orphan Lake, correct.
Revolutionary
use of chenille and rubber.
But I would have to say that it is one of the best tied flies and one of the biggest sellers here in the shop. And then the other one, if you guys have seen it out there, and if you haven't tried it, you definitely should, his PCP nymph, which is basically a prince nymph without any wings or anything else on it. So, again, good job being innovative. He actually is a really good fly tire. So, you should just see his steelhead flies because they're incredible.
That's a lot to do with MFC, though, when you come right down to it. I mean, you look at, probably 3,000 or 4,000 patterns every year and go, oh, this guy sent us a girdle bug. They had the wherewithal to tie it correctly with the correct stuff consistently and say yes to it, which it's one of the better selling girdle bugs. It's just a little different, sinks a little faster because it's proportionally correct for being really tiny. And that's MFC that does it. I mean, they're the ones who made it happen.
And he's not used to people saying yes to him. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, let's get into it because you don't want to hear us yak. We're going to start with the Coast Range, but before we do this, make sure to check your local regs before you go fishing. We're talking about creeking areas near Portland. We're not talking about the big rivers, the Deschutes, the McKenzie. These are after work spots, meaning they also host winter and summer steelhead runs, a lot of them. So these could be potentially spawning tributaries for wild fish. So absolutely 100% check the regs before you go fishing. And the ones we're talking about are safe. But if you go on exploratory mode, which you should, just make sure you check the regs so you're not fishing closed water. Okay, that's really important. Before you open the fishing regs, call your lawyer because that's who you're going to need to decipher the freaking Oregon fishing reg code.
That was the only point I had, then I can lead now.
Yes.
Good job. But that's really important and well said.
Yeah, good. All right, so we're not on the hook. If you get your ass busted, don't come.
And if you have a simple question on that too, you can always call the shop. Sometimes we know the answer pretty off the top of our head, but definitely check the regs if you can.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so getting down into it, we're going to break this up into quadrants. So we're going to go Coast Range West, right? So the whole Coast Range. Then we're going to hit Valley, which is Coast Range to Cascade Range, which is us, where we're sitting, Portland, Oregon, the Valley. And then we're going to hit a little bit on the east side because it is close enough. We're trying to stay about an hour and a half around Portland. So you may live in the outskirts. If you live in Forest Grove or Hillsboro, obviously the coast is going to be closer. If you're, out near Sandy, Hood's going to be closer, but relatively speaking, we're just trying to stay about an hour and a half within Portland, which gives you plenty of time to get 3 hours of fishing in. If you're fast, 3.5, 4 after work, get home, and then be fresh for the office in the morning, right? And this is going to be basically a way to make the most of your summer. I mean, and really just get after it. And then the opener for Oregon and Washington is right around the corner. So these will be in effect very, very soon.
Yeah.
On this air.
End of May.
Yeah. Hopefully, if I'm quick at editing, a little sooner, but we'll see how it goes. So let's move on to the Coast Range. We're going to be talking coast to the ocean. And there's actually a lot, surprisingly a lot. So everybody living in Hillsborough, good job, because this is very, very local to you. Most of your trout species out there are going to be coastal cutthroat. You might get a smattering of rainbows here and there. The odd rainbow I doubt you'll find any brickies. Weirder things have happened, but primarily we're talking about cutthroat. Cutthroat trout are the fly angler's best friend because they're dumb and they look up. They're willing fish, active participants, and really make you feel pretty good about your skills as an angler. Along with the resident cutthroat, we also get sea run cutthroat that peak in the fall, but they will come in and out of the system pretty much all summer long. Anybody who's been like steelhead fishing the Wilson in April has caught sea run cutthroat. They kind of come in and out, and they're probably the most unexplained species actually we have. They're the most under-researched, but fascinating, awesome little fish. So, and they're out there.
And underfished out here. So very few people you're going to run into when you're out there fishing. So that's what's so wonderful about all these coastal rivers. And this year, so this is of course 2024, or no, 2025. Oh God, no, there's my brain. It's 2025 apparently, and we have had a really kind of dry spring. And so we don't get this a lot, but all of these coastal rivers, like when it's the opener and we have low water, there still seems to be quite a few sea run cutthroat around. So this is the year if you want to go out there and target some sea runs before they start kind of migrating out a little bit more, this would be a good chance. The one thing that I want to mention about like sea run cutthroat and these coastal things is that this fishery is possibly one of the easiest ways to get into fly fishing. These fish are some of the dumbest, and I love dumb fish.
Don't say dumb, say forgiving.
Forgiving.
They like everything.
Exactly. So they're forgiving, and they're going to be pretty aggressive towards your fly. So if you have a friend or a spouse or whatever it is that you're trying to get into fishing, this is such a good opportunity for you, and you should really use it.
And if you got kids that you're trying to get into fly fishing, absolutely amazing opportunity, because they're typically easy to wade, so they don't have nearly the hazards that you'll find on the Deschutes or some of the big rivers. You can get your kid a cheap pair of hippers or something, for that matter, that they're going to grow out of, and you're not going to get killed on price, but they're pretty easy to wade.
Yeah.
They're very forgiving.
And especially as we get more into summer, they warm up pretty good, and so like you can wait. I've done it in sandals before.
Absolutely.
So let's get into some of those
Think about
rivers.
this. If you see a rainbow down there, it's most likely a steelhead smolt. So bring your practice, your good catch and release practice with you. Keep them wet.
Oh,
in your net if you're not good at handling fish. Especially the small ones won't quit wiggling. The 10 or 11 inches are a little bit easier to subdue, but you'll find some rainbows, but it's most likely a steelhead smolt. So just keep that in mind that you're going to run into those guys too, and you'll run into them from par marked 4 inches to 11, 12 inches that are getting ready to go to the ocean and become big steelhead.
Yeah, let them become big.
Yeah, we'll get on the soapbox real quick. I don't mean to tell anybody what to do, but treat the steelhead smolt like very nice. They are actually on ESA listed species. They are an endangered species.
Protected species.
Protected species.
Yeah.
ESA listed fish. So don't kill them. Treat them nice. I always advocate for barbless hooks. Anyway, really anywhere there's wild fish, but barbless is a really good idea out there because the chances are you will hook some steelhead smolts, and we just want to make sure as many steelhead smolts can make babies, beautiful, wonderful babies, and get our runs, back to epic shape. Rivers. I don't mean to make people mad.
But Wilson is the closest.
Wilson. So
The North Fork, the South Fork, the Devil's Lake Fork, the Wilson itself. You could probably spend, if you're an avid fisherman and you go as many times as you can, weeknight, Thursday night, Friday night, you got a 4-day week and Monday's your day, you probably spend I would say to learn that it's going to take you 4 years. and you don't have to change rivers.
If you want to,
That's how fun you can have.
Yeah.
Right. You want to fish all the forks and all the different stuff up high, and there's a lot of up and down too. You will get in shape if you play on the Upper Wilson, for sure.
And if you're in Portland proper, let's say, that's probably one of the closest coastal rivers, and you can be in basically about 40 minutes.
Yep.
Ish, depending on how fast you drive.
Right. And then also it's pretty darn accessible as far as some of the other coastal rivers go. So it's one of the, I wouldn't say problems, but one of the challenges we have fishing the coastal rivers is private property. I want to be really clear about this because it's a very confusing subject. So not all rivers have high water mark rules. All right. So, and I didn't know this for a long time until I got my captain's license and went to Coast Guard school for this, but navigable waterways have nothing to do with boats going down or old logging rafts and all that stuff. Navigable means if federal dollars go into the system, it's navigable. If state dollars go into the system, it's non-navigable. So with private property on the Coast Range, I don't know why it is, but everybody that I've encountered that lives out there doesn't have a job, and they're always home to yell at you. So expect that. So Wilson, I mean, that's probably the most popular option, honestly. Like the most people in the shop that come like that do the coastal cutty thing, they're talking about the Wilson most of the time. So that's, most people know about the Wilson. Maybe most people don't know about the upper stretches and the forest land and just kind of the endless miles of creek.
Way up high on the Nehalem. I mean,
yeah, Nehalem.
Below Vernonia.
Yeah, Nehalem.
But that's
Nehalem's next.
no dam, yeah.
Nehalem's next.
And lots of open.
We'll get there.
Lots of private property, but lots of open water.
Now we're going to talk about the Nehalem. Bruce?
So the Nehalem, I would say that river is the one that's like talked about a little bit less, and it's a really good option because it's got a lot of access, especially in the lower end. And when I mean lower end, I mean like Highway 26 down. There's still a ton of access up above, but I would say your bigger cutthroat, any of these streams, like the Wilson, the Trask, all this, the Nehalem, like the lower you are to tidal, especially in summer, the higher probability of finding a sea run cutthroat. You're typically not going to find sea runs way upriver. You're going to find smaller resident fish, which is absolutely fine. But if you want some of those bigger fish, stay low. The Nehalem, we've got like Foss Road, and I think it's Lower Nehalem Road for part of it. Like that parallels the river for a very long time. And there are some private property sections. Again, just watch those signs. But you have so much ability to just like hike around in that thing. That one's a little slicker. There's more moss on that river than the others. So like that is one where have studded boots or have felt boots or something like that, because you will fall on your butt. But that is like one of the least tapped rivers for cutthroat, just because it's not talked about as much, and I'll probably get hate mail for this, but like it's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
Please comment the hate mail.
This is after work fishing. You got to stay higher.
Right.
You want to fish 3 hours and get home that night. It's got to be up higher. If you want to go find the big cutties and you're staying,
You're gonna go a little bit
for
lower.
the weekend anyways, right? You got to go a little bit lower. But if you can do it from Portland as a
Oh yeah,
and you're not the work trip if you stay up high.
From Beaverton, if you're in that like Spruce Run campground zone, I would say probably about an hour 15.
And this is weird too, because I've done this so much, and you always every year you feel like, oh my god, it's 6:15, and I got 20 more minutes to get there, and you don't get the car parked till 6:35, and I'll tell you, by the time you get done and it's dark, and you got a Jimmy John's and a beer, you feel like it made the 4-day weekend out of it. I mean, you're really not pressed for time. You're not going to see many people out there, or anybody a lot of times. And it doesn't matter if you're there at 6:45 and it stays to light till 10, you're in the game. Right. So don't drive crazy thinking that you're wasting all your precious fishing time, because it's weird starting at 6:45 and you still get plenty of time.
The evening's always the best.
Yeah,
for everywhere in any fishery.
It'll feel the first few times you do it, it'll feel like you're. Why am I even doing this? Because it's almost 7. So don't worry about that at all. You'll have a great night. You'll feel so good by the time you're sitting there taking your boots off at the end of the day that. It'll feel like you fish for a full 8-hour day.
So some of the other fisheries, because I think there's so many rivers out there that we're going to get a little bit like whole podcast just on the West Coast. The The other ones that I would mention would be the Kilchis. Kilchis is a really good one. It's a smaller river out there. It's a lot of gravel, so it's easier wading. You have a lot of state forest land in that upper part. There is some private property in that lower section, so that's a little bit harder to fish. The Trask has some really good parks. So many people don't want to drive that far, and again, it is going to take you more time to get there because you got to go almost all the way to Tillamook. But it is another option, right? So like all those coastal rivers, the Nestucca, depending on where you're at, that upper Nestucca can be very easy. But like those rivers for sea runs and resident fish are just like absolutely killer.
Well, and it's really just fun. It's the core of fly fishing. Light rods, dry flies, it really is just the absolute core of what fly fishing kind of has always been thought of is dry flies and like plunge pools and pocket water and fast shoots. And, and we're not talking about like, huge fish. I mean, keep in mind, like none of these are going to rival the Deschutes and the Mackenzie for like your biggest fish. But as far as quality of an outing and just being able to go somewhere after work, like let's say you got yelled at by the boss and you just need a decompression chamber, you can go out there and not see another human and just have an awesome day fishing dry flies.
And you will get those surprise fish that are awesome.
Yeah, every once in a while you do get surprised.
Especially in the fall. The fall is where the magic happens.
But this, these are just awesome little mini escapes. Most of your fish are going to run 8 to 10 inches, I would say.
For the residents.
For residents. But, it's really not about size here. We're just talking about pure quality of evening, right? Those are kind of the big ones we covered. And most people have heard of these because of the winter steelhead popularity and sea run cutthroat, but mostly the winter steelhead popularity of these rivers. Now, keep in mind, there are a bazillion miles of drainages on the Coast Range. A couple, Hunt Creek, Upper Lewis and Clark, the Youngs, Gales Creek. Like, there's all these other little creeks. I would really encourage you to get on Google Maps or whatever and just start picking them off and just exploring. You can look on Onyx or something and see the private property laws. Have a little bit of a plan before you go out. But Onyx would be a great app just to see where you can go and what would be the most effective use of your time. And get a map of the state of Oregon and just start knocking them off. The main ones that we've talked about are actually going to be the more popular ones, which aren't popular, but are going to be more popular if you just want to
never see it.
If you just want to escape and like go Bigfoot hunting, like you got tons of miles of creek, to explore in the state of Oregon.
And the last thing I want to say on some of those creeks
Lifetime.
that you mentioned, like Gales Creek and the upper Youngs River and upper Lewis and Clark above the falls, those stay open year round. We're talking about the opener that's right around this corner here at the end of May, but like Gales Creek, if you want a trout fishery that you want to go to in April or February or January and it's not blown out, that's an option. And that's like Gales Creek from Portland's like 25 minutes away.
Yeah, it's not far
at all. It's not far at all. So that is a gem to have. Now, again, you're not going to have monster fish in there, but you are going to have a fishery. And again, getting back to the core, like you said, of fly fishing, you're going out there watching something eat that fly, and that's what it's about.
I would say, keeping on the coast side, that is probably the most underutilized fishery in the state of Oregon, almost by anybody, not just fly anglers, but really angling as a whole, are the jetties. South Tillamook Jetty, Newport Jetty. I mean, they're a little further away, but geez, come mid-June, you've got till 10:30 almost.
And even the jetty in Southwest Washington, I totally forgot about that one.
I don't know what jetty you're talking about.
The Columbia.
Oh, the big one.
Yeah, the big jetty.
Okay, gotcha.
The jetty.
Jetty fishing is phenomenal, and there are so many rockfish, that swim around these rocks. You have the opportunity for lingcod, and if you catch a lingcod, you should absolutely kill the hell out of it and eat it because
If it's open.
Again,
Reject Craig's.
but they're amazing. And the rockfish or sea bass, some people call them, they are the best fish tacos on the planet.
Give them a rod away, because we're putting the 3 away for that.
Yeah, we're putting the light rods away for that one. So I would say 7 or 8 for the jetty, only because
6 minimum.
Yeah, only because carrying the sink tip required,
And the clouser.
yeah, needs some oomph behind that rod. So
And the wind.
don't take your 3-weight jetty fishing because it will break. But
Steelhead rod.
it's incredibly underutilized. And one of the beauties is when it's 95 or 100 degrees come July in Portland, you can literally drive to the jetty and put on a sweatshirt because you're cold. And I can't tell you how phenomenal it is after a month of sweating to feel what cold feels like again. It's just so nice. And what is crazy is you drive back and you get over the Coast Range and then you're like dying of heat. It's really bizarre. But the coast, I mean, everybody knows the coast is the great escape from the Portland heat. But, you know, you can do more than just like walk around Depot Bay looking for tie-dyes or whatever to buy. You can go fishing and catch quite a few fish and just have a ball, you know, on the jetties. Like, I love jetty fishing. It is a ton of fun.
So if you had a favorite Coast River, Jason, what do you want?
Well, I do have a favorite Coast River, but it's not for the reasons you think. I love the Little Nestucca.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Fish
that's
on
a
there,
good
too.
Smaller fish, but it is the most beautiful little tranquil stream, and you don't see a soul. Like it, most people don't even know where the Little Nestucca is. I couldn't point to it, but I've had amazing days there, and it's just one of those places I used to go before I could drive. Like my mom would drive me there and drop me off at the campground and just be like, all right, see you in 3 hours. So it's kind of like my stomping ground of just learning my way into fly fishing, and it was just a special place. So my favorite place is more nostalgia based than just epic fishing based, but I just love it's just awesome. Bruce, what's your favorite?
Man, it can be crowded and crazy, and there can be naked weirdos and stuff like that. I like the Wilson.
All right, maybe I like the Wilson. maybe I like the Wilson now.
Was it the naked or
Naked
the
weirdos kind of got me hooked.
Either one works. Naked or I mean, it's just cool, man. There's a lot of water. That whole it's so cool, and it's so close to Portland, and it's really, as far as fishing pressure goes, I mean, 40% of the people that watch this video and you get a whole bunch of views and likes, if they all go to it, they probably still won't see another fisherman. I mean, it just disperses the crowd really good. So it's pretty cool. Nick, you pick.
Hey, I mean, I just love that river. I mean, for a few things, it's like it's a rainforest. It's like the closest you can get to the Ho, right? So just like ancient trees and ancient moss and all that stuff. And what I like about it is, since it's a little bit bigger, like there's just a variety of fish and a little bit more sizes. I would say you could see a little bit bigger residents there.
Fair. And potential summer steelhead.
Yeah, and it's very technical, right? Like there's bigger boulders. I have fallen and broken things, not bones yet, but like you got to think like it's one of those rivers where, okay, cool, how am I gonna get to that hole? So I've got to go over this ancient forest tree, come around this fern, and then I'm gonna drop down this way to get to this spot. So let's talk about the valley next.
The valley, meaning Coast Range to Cascades. Where we are sitting right now is the valley, Portland area.
Pull up a chair for 3 or 4 hours. The valley's got some opportunity.
Yeah, we got
Right. We got to do this in a few minutes.
we got a lot to talk about here. Let's move to the Clackamas, right? Like the Clackamas is the one everybody kind of knows about. It's probably the most popular on the list for local trout fishing near Portland would be, and I'm going to break it up. You know, we'll do the Clackamas below North Fork Reservoir and the Clackamas above North Fork Reservoir because they're kind of two different fisheries, actually. You know, McIver State Park would be the easiest. You know, there's 2 boat ramps. There's a lower and an upper. So the upper boat ramp at McIver State Park is kind of the default place to go, I would say,
For almost everybody finds that place first.
right.
From Martin to McIver.
And there are some decent trout around there. Most of them are going to be steelhead small, I would say.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
The flip side, though, is you do have summer steelhead opportunities there. Okay, so if the small trout thing isn't for you and you're trying to get out, you know, and steelhead fish after work, you know, you're after something bigger, that is a great option before work, after work, to go look for summer on steelhead. Now it is
It's a whole another podcast.
It is, but that is a close opportunity and after work deal. Absolutely, you can go chase summer on steelhead, McIver Park on the Clackamas. You won't be alone, like we're talking about though, doing that. There's quite a few people like fishing bobbers and jigs and stuff for that. So just be aware that you will not be alone, tranquil in that environment. But above North Fork,
Above the reservoirs.
right, that's a different scenario altogether.
That starts as soon as you see current flowing downstream. I mean, the lake backfills it, right? And there's a 90-degree bend in the river. It's about where, in one of those little cable carts, there's like a cable cart that goes across the river and a 90-degree bend in the road, but it's maybe 2 or 3 miles above Promontory Lake. But as soon as you see water flowing, man, there's fish immediately. Every tributary, some of those creeks probably aren't even named. They've got fish in them for sure.
Right.
Like I found a tributary of Mimaloos Lake, Mimaloos Creek dumps into the Clackamas. There's a feeder creek of that. And you have the bow and arrow. You can't cast. You have to bow and arrow everything, but you'll find them. I mean, then every campground's got them. Bridenbush River, the Roaring River. I mean, how many
Yeah, the Roaring River
creek carries come into that bad boy?
I mean, a lot of them are hiking only, right? So like the Roaring is going to be a 2-mile hike just to see water.
Right.
So if if you're into backpacking, hiking, and you just want that fix, you can piggyback fishing on top of your hiking, right? So there's a lot of opportunity for people that are into different type of outdoor activities. It can kind of be all encompassing. You can be in the REI commercial up there if you
With the fly rod.
With a fly rod.
Yeah.
So,
And there's some campgrounds down there that are going to make the river really popular. So if you want a little bit more of an escape like me, I'm going to go as early as I can go, get my wife out of work. She's going fishing with me on a Friday night, Thursday night, whatever. I'm going to probably go to at least 3 links before I stop the car. So I'm going to go a little further up the river and get past some of the campgrounds. But not all fish is good. Then you can get to the other side of the river, which is great. And then if you really want to make it, you can do this on a summer night when you get light till 10, 10:15, 10:30, or full moon weekends, fish into 11. But the Kallawash, the Bagby Fork, the Brighton, go way up high. Austin Hot Springs, start there and go up. It's phenomenal. Those cutthroat they can be pretty good size, and they are super grabby, super fun. It's awesome.
I would say the beauty about the Upper Clackamas in particular is that it will reward the angler who wants to really get after it and work hard with bigger fish.
Yep.
It's the one area where there is potential for a 16-inch rainbow.
Possibly bigger.
Possibly bigger.
There's 17, 18-inch cutthroats up there, too. They'll get big.
Now, these are not fish that you're going to catch maybe every time. These are not fish that are going to come easy, because it is getting popular, right? Portland's exploded, in population in the last 5 years. There's more people looking, right? And that's been kind of the default place to go. So every year, there's more and more pressure. But that being said, if you work for it, you will start to unlock some of the big fish areas. Out of respect for our customers, I'm not going to tell you where those are, because they've earned those spots, right?
He doesn't know
I know them.
Does he know him?
I know one. But they've earned those spots, so hats off, But if you're willing to, get tired, you do have opportunity for some really nice fish up there.
Realistically, some of the best part of that, instead of showing someone, like, you put your left foot on this rock and your right foot on that rock, they have more fun when they find them anyways.
Yeah.
For 100%.
I want to say just something as far as, like, for the people that have gone up to the Clackamas, and maybe it was years ago, 5 years plus ago, the Clackamas has changed a lot. And some people kind of need to know, why it's gotten good, and also know the regulation changes. The Clackamas was known for dinks, and everything above that dam kind of dink-ish. And the fire happened in 2020, and it basically nuked that whole thing and shut it down for 2 years or 3 years.
Yeah.
And all the campgrounds closed and all the fishing closed. So prior to that fire, you could kill a lot of fish per person and fry it up in your pan. And so with all those campgrounds and with everything, there was a lot of fish being caught and a lot of fish being killed.
Yeah.
Once it reopened, and the current regulations as this is being filmed, is that it's all catch and release. You're not allowed to target steelhead up there at all if you see them, but you can go after trout, but it's all catch and release. You'll still see, unfortunately, just some people that don't know that it's catch and release. But because of this,
Some of them know.
the fishing is getting so much better. And so we've really seen this fishery recover. This is a giant success story for an Oregon river, and it's becoming a gem. And, you know, even 2 years ago, like most people didn't even know it had 16-inch fish in it.
Yeah.
And so now it's just like, it is getting more popular. It will get more popular, especially because of Portland. But like, go and fish it now. Like this is the time where we get to rediscover this. There's new spots that really no one's really knows yet. Right? It's undiscovered for some parts.
Here's the other part that's cool about the clack. Like those guys are talking sage, I'm talking Beulah, but we're talking single hand 3-weights, right? I like that rod too. I just wanted to say that because I'm the rep. But if you are a summer steelhead fisherman and the fish aren't in the chute yet, they're not really stacked in the clack yet, and you got to get your fix, and you have a trout spay 3-weight or trout spay 4-weight, man, I mean, from below Mimulus Bridge, almost to where the water starts to slack into the promontory lake, up to Mimulus Bridge and beyond, I mean, up to Big Bend, Carter, Armstrong bridges. If you want to trout miles, 3 elites, miles, there's wicked trout spay opportunity, which is out of the scope of what we're talking about here tonight.
Well,
it's there.
I don't know, man. That's
It's
pretty
big river too.
You probably are the first person to talk about trout spay on the Upper Clackamas that I have ever heard. So that's
It can't be. There's no.
No, I've been a couple.
That's
Very one of 5 for me.
but it's cool. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that just shows how much opportunity.
If you have to just scratch an itch because you're jonesing for your BC trip or whatever, and you want to get out and cast a rod, take your rod up there,
Yeah.
go.
There's
a lot of stuff we talked about on the Wilson and stuff, that maybe on the Nehalem, but I'll leave the spare rod at home on the coast in the winter time.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
this is a 3-weight.
Exactly.
Single hand 3-weight, yeah, but that's a good river because you can do either way.
Real quick disclaimer on the Upper Clack. They have planted bull trout up there in the last couple years. Please do not target the bull trout. I know they're big, they're cool, they're fun. They are a protected species. They're kind of the baby of Oregon. If we abuse this, they will close it. I've seen it happen. So please just leave the bull trout alone. Pretend they're not there. This is one thing we kind of fight with in the shop is people, for some reason, people are just fully addicted to bull trout. And if there's a bull trout, they need to catch it. So I'm telling you, they will shut they will shut the system down for everybody if it gets abused.
Well, simple. You measure those in pounds, not inches.
Right.
That's why they like them. But
They like
that's happened in the Northwest recently.
Yeah.
You either get really ridiculous, like 2-week window in the spring, 2-week window in the fall, and it ruins the whole summer. But yeah, I mean, especially, and if you are trying to catch one, don't YouTube it.
And like, if you're throwing a streamer like that's like 5 inches, I mean, like, come on, we know what you're doing.
The thing is, the state loves the bull trout more than they love us fishing that water. So they're going to make a decision, and it's not going to be in our favor. Like, period. They did it to the Upper East Fork. They've already closed that for the summer. So just stay away from the bull trout.
We're trout fishing.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the Clackamas. We're probably not telling a lot of people something new, but
Right.
yeah,
Maybe you are.
maybe we are.
Don't forget, though, go take that 3-weight single hand rod and go up the Bagby Hot Springs Fork.
Yeah.
Don't take your waders. Wet weight. You have to. You got to cross the river. Some places are scary, steep. It gets into a canyon. You might have to go 3/4 of a mile to get back to the road and get out of there. Phenomenal. That's a good day. And where you hop in, put your Snapples or beers or whatever in a sandwich down there and just hike back to it.
Yeah.
Man.
And then you can
that's an awesome night.
see some naked hippies at Bagby Hot Springs. So, Oak Grove Fork, Kallawash, those are great, like bigger tributaries of that area that are absolutely worth checking out. Surprisingly, again, like some bigger fish, like I've seen 14, 15-inch fish come out of there. Not a lot, but they are available to the working angler. You put your time in, you do get rewarded. There, as Bruce was saying earlier, there's a million tributaries worth exploring that are absolutely worth your time. We'll move to the Molalla.
Wait, before we go that far,
Okay.
just bump over one drainage and you're on the Salmon River, which goes into the
right.
Sandy River. And most people that have done this, right, you're going to go up Salmon River Road out of Welch's, and then there's a bridge where there's gravel on the other side, pavement on this side, and a parking area, and then a steep trail. That's an awesome way to go. Gear and lures below the bridge, flies only above the bridge. But go up top, go around from Timothy Lake and come down to the top side, get into that campground and go downstream. phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the salmon rivers, we get way more questions
Not
about
big ones. Yep.
Well, we get way more questions about access on the salmon than anything.
Yeah.
So that's a cool little sneaky.
And I think if you come in through the top, you'll see, I believe there's 8 sets of falls, and starts at first falls and goes to final falls. And when you're on the trail coming down, I mean, be ready. It's super, super steep, and you can hear the river, but you can't see the river. And you got to kind of ski and surf and grab branches. And I would keep my rod and a rod tube on my pack to get down to it. It's some effort. I mean, you'd be surprised a guy that looks like me can make it up and down now.
I believe you can make it down.
Is that over matter, baby?
I got no doubt you can make it down.
Since you brought up that one, let's jump to the Sandy real quick, and then we'll come back to that.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, the Sandy River drainage. I don't know how many people we come in here asking about the Sandy and trout fishing. Frankly, like, the main stem of the Sandy, like, don't bother.
Right.
Like, it's called the Sandy for a reason. It's full of sand and sediment, and there's lots of non-bugs.
There's one app that tells you that the Sandy is a world-class trout fishery. That app lies. There's also AI that will tell you that the Sandy is a world-class trout fishery. AI lies. There's probably not a worse trout river in Oregon than the Sandy River proper.
The first 90-degree day coming up, it's going to look like a freaking yoo-hoo going downstream for the next 4 months.
And it's going to be
literally looks like a yoo-hoo hauling ass.
And by July, there's going to be this much sunscreen just on the top of the Sandy River, like they cut through the film.
Now, the tributaries of the Sandy, right? Like, those aren't coming off the glacier. So, like, they don't have the sediment issues. So, like, the salmon. And now you can also come in from the Welch's side of it, too. Yeah. And if you don't want to do the crazy hiking stuff, which you should, that offers a lot of opportunity because there's the Salmon River Trail that literally walks most of the thing to about the falls. And so you have miles and miles and miles of, like, little creeking to do. Now, there's a bunch of other creeks. There's a zigzag that comes off of it. There's, what is the other one that I'm...
Because, I mean, I wonder how many fly
Still Creek and Camp Creek.
I don't know if they believe that from Welch's on the straightaway going to Silent Rock, that river parallels it. It's like 150 yards.
Yeah, you would never know it.
Yeah, and like, I mean, other than hearing the occasional, like, look of a diesel, like, semi, you wouldn't even know there was a road there. It's beautiful. Yeah. It's awesome. The fish are fun.
So Molalla, we've got a couple different fisheries happening here on the Molalla. So with the lower river going into Molalla State Park area, going into the Willamette, we actually have a pretty substantial smallmouth bass fishery in that section. It's really pretty darn good. Olive woolly-bugger, little popper in the summertime, and you can really have a good time down there. So been there, done it, had lots of fun catching smallies. And honestly, you can probably fish the same 3, maybe a 4 if it gets a little gusty down there, but you don't need a 6 for these. Like, they're not huge bass.
There'll be some decent ones.
Decent, but
I mean, the time that's fun on a 3-way because it takes some doing to get it landed.
Yeah, I mean, any smallmouth on a 3-way, it's gonna be a riot. And then you don't need to cast like big, heavy, weighted, like lead-eyed crawdads down there. I mean, you could throw just a beadhead woolly bugger or even a surface popper and do just fine. So light rods are still good. We're still in the light rod world for that area. Moving up, there is a decent trout population on the upper Molalla. Bruce goes there, sometimes on his evenings off.
Yeah. From Tiger to live in Oregon City, it's 18 minutes from a doorstep.
Right.
So it's pretty easy. Here's a trick, though. It's going to start, our open is the 22nd. The water's already in shape, so it's on. The steelhead spawned. You might see a couple on bed still, but there'll be trout. And then the thing about, so all these, like Molalla, Abaquois, Silver Creek down in Silver Fall State Park, they're going to be good from now till like somewhere in the second week of July. The water's going to get low. There's going to be less oxygen. The water's going to get warm, and you got to know when to just walk away and let trout be trout. But you get 6 weeks of fun that's really local and super easy to do on an weekday evening after work, which is, I mean, it's awesome.
Well, I mean, most of these rivers are, and the Halem's subject to this. All the coastal rivers subject to this. If we get like a really hot summer, a lot of these creeks, you should probably just not go and let the fish just survive. We've had these summers recently where it's better just to go to the Mackenzie or the big rivers because there's oxygen, because there's higher survival rate. So
Upper Wilson's going to be safe. Clackamas is going to be safe. A bunch of them are going to be safe year round. But this one's not.
right. So I mean, if you can't get out there again, and in the meantime, there's tons of other options. But the bass,
Eagle Creek in that too.
right?
Eagle Creek on the Clackamas, another one, super fun, little trouties.
But the bass are fine.
Oh man,
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's 200 degrees. Like the bass are fine. So go bass fishing.
They're basically rats with fins.
Yeah.
So like
He's made some people mad.
actually, I just heard that
it just fins. I don't know.
Let's move north. We can try. Southwest Washington, viable option for, us. I mean, let's get real. Like Clark County is a suburb of Multnomah County. Like if we're getting down to it. So moving north, you've got the Kalama, which is 40 minutes north of Portland. Some sea run cutthroat fishing in the upper reaches, like Weyerhaeuser Land, if you got the key or up in that area. There's some fair trout fishing up there. A couple bigger ones that may surprise you. It's also phenomenal summer on Steelhead River, up in the canyons especially. So that's a really easy afterwork option for summer on steelhead. And the Washougal, when you want to talk about private property, it's like psycho on the Washougal. But there are some areas to get in on the Washougal where you can get some pretty darn good trout fishing. Like I used to fish the Washougal a ton before I didn't know it wasn't a trout stream. That's a lot of this stuff. Like
you're not talking about the Fallen Alley run. You're talking about drive up
upriver. But a lot of these areas we're talking about, we've experienced pretty opportunistically when we were young. Nobody told us they weren't trout streams, and we found trout in these places, right? So there are fish available. There are resident trout. When we compare it to the Madison or whatever the hell, of course we're not apples to apples, but I've caught 14, 16-inch rainbows over my lifetime in the Washougal, so they are there. Again, few and far between, but they're there. Getting a little further up, the Upper Lewis above Swift Reservoir is a great option. And you want to talk about a river that stays cold, I don't care if it's 150 degrees in town. That river will freeze you out.
and it's super pretty.
It's gorgeous. And if you want to see a squatch, that's the place to do it. That does close, though, from the Muddy down July 15th. Again, this is what I'm talking about. Don't target the bull trout because that's why they close.
It's closed, yeah.
People decided to just not follow the rules. And anywhere there's bull trout, that's kind of the state's baby. So,
But above the Muddy stays open till, I believe, October 31st.
October 31st.
Check regulation.
You can hike up. So the hike, again, you'll know you went hiking that day, but you won't see many people. And
That's a river also that's got some roots in it.
it does. And then what happens
Good
is
fish up there.
you get a lot of Swift Reservoir trout that come up into that system and hang out. So you'll catch a freaking 18-inch hatchery fish that, came out of Swift, but he's up here checking out like what the river's doing. So, and then that's another one you can catch, an 18-inch fish on a dry fly at 2 p.m. in the middle of the day, just because there's not much pressure.
And some of those holdover fish are hard to tell too. I mean, they get feisty. Their scales are back. They don't look like they
No, they're killer.
got beat up.
Yeah.
Actually, Nick got one last year that was like total predator, full of crawdads. It was like we couldn't even. It was rock hard. It was
They look good from me. I saw a couple that were like, oh, that is actually a hatchery fish, but they're picture worthy, beautiful.
The thing with Southwest Washington is there is this like magical barrier of the Columbia River.
Yes.
And for us, Jason and I that live up on that Washington side, the Washington license is just norm. But Oregonians are allergic to the Columbia.
Yes,
And it's like, how
cannot cross the Columbia.
get over there? There's a bridge, and you can get on the other side of it. Yes, you will have to have another license. You're going to have a Washington license. But the Kalama, for some of us, if you live in St. John's, the Kalama is closer than the Sandy.
Right.
Right. So some of these rivers are closer, and you don't maybe have to drive through Portland to get to it, depending on what side you're on. So, food for thought.
More
So, but leading routes here, this isn't going to be just outside of Woodland between there and the Longview Golf Club. You got to go up ways.
Yeah, we're talking
that's gonna
upper
be
reaches.
fun.
Basically, we're getting mostly out of steelhead country, and we're getting into mountainous trout country. Right. We're talking above most of the steelhead fishing that occurs. Again, though, the Washougal's got a summer run steelhead program. The Kalama's got summer run steelhead. The East Fork does not. So if you're fishing the East Fork of the Lewis, you're going to be after really dinky trout. One of the most epic green drake hatches in the state of Washington is wasted on a river with no fish. But besides that.
And there's, just like that, the further up you go up the East Fork and get above the falls, like where it's small.
Right.
That's where it's cold and everything, and that's where it's, I think, the most fun. But there's a lot of other creeks up there too, just like the coastal rivers. So you've got like Canyon Creek.
Yes, Canyon Creek is good.
Well, God, there's a couple others that I can't remember.
Susan, I think it's Susan. We fished it years ago. All these creeks that like dump into Swift Reservoir have trout. Like it's really good.
And no one really touches them.
No, you have to hike your ass off to get to them. But what's cool is if you start hiking around Swift Reservoir, it's a pain in the ass hike, and you will be tired. But you're gonna run into pods of feeding trout in Swift that you can cast to, like on the way to the next creek, and then you kind of walk up the mouth of the creek. I mean, it's tons of fun, and you just see so much stuff. There's not a lot.
Is that weekend day stuff, or can you do that after work?
No, that's going to be, if you're hiking around Swift, you're going to need a full day. Like that's a hike. But
some of those creeks, like probably Canyon Creek, you can get to after work.
Yeah, Canyon.
Yeah, the Upper Lewis, the Clackamas, you can get to after work.
But that's the Southwest Washington thing. Let's see.
Wait, your favorite Valley River?
My favorite Valley River? Oh man, are we talking steelhead or trout? Or
We're talking 3 weights and trout.
3 weights and trout. Favorite Valley River? It's got to be the Upper Lewis. It's got to be the Upper Lewis.
Sure.
You're just kind of in this magical place of total wilderness.
Well, you took mine, so that's bullshit.
You can have 2 on the same one. That's fair.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's a far drive. It's worth it. The downside is it's like open for a month and a half.
Right.
And that's you can go to the upper, and the upper's still really good. But like that easy section is the month and a half.
And people that know me know that I don't hike. but July 15th is done. Yeah.
You actually look like a hiker today.
I'm not a hiker, no.
What's that guy? You look like a park the car go fish guy.
My gut tells everybody I'm not a hiker.
I think I'll probably take maybe, as far as cool points in like Willy Wonka factory, that Bagby Fork is pretty cool.
I didn't expect that at all.
I don't know if I've ever, man, it's not the closest one, but it's cool.
All right.
You're getting home at 1 a.m. That's probably a Friday night gig.
Yeah, it's Friday night.
Yeah, it's way up there, but it's pretty cool. It's fun.
All right, sweet.
Okay.
Moving on to now east side of the Cascades, Columbia River Gorge-ish, areas. Now we are into a little bit more acidity in the water, higher alkaline, better dirt. We're in less glacial fed, sterile water conditions, and we are into more traditional kind of trout conditions where the water has more nutrients, more plant growth, little bit more high deserty type situation. So that being said, some of the creeks that you find will have bigger fish. I don't know necessarily if they will have more fish. It will just depend on the creek, but I have found much more consistent fishing out there just based on terrain alone. Like a lot of trout fishing is just geology, what the ground says can grow here, and trout are definitely a part of that. So the further east you go, the better the geology is for trout. Yeah. So the easy,
which is fun, and I mean that almost falls under like don't get stuck into like the McKinsey, the Metolius, and the Deschutes. McKinsey and Metolius, Deschutes. Right? I mean, Caddisfly could do the same thing for local after work fishing just in their area, right? Which we didn't hit. We know all about them. But yeah, and you're right. For going east is fun, but not for a day trip after work.
Well, you can get to some. So years ago, I used to fish the little white salmon, which is probably an hour out of town. And now we're talking like one of those.
You go to the Wind too and do that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Just outside
Bridge
of Carson.
of Gods, baby.
The little white salmon is one of those that's going to really surprise you with like all of a sudden there's going to be an 18-inch fish. The main white salmon, a little bit further of a drive, now it's a pain to fish.
You could even trout fish the click.
Yeah, you can. The upper reach, you're not going to be able to do that after work.
Yeah, that's pushing
like at all. But barely the white salmon. The white salmon's tough with pressure and all the whitewater rafting and stuff. But there's some epic trout in the main white salmon, like Alaska leopard rainbow type trout in the white salmon river. The little white salmon kind of has that same strain. You're not going to get a lot of them, but you could be absolutely miffed at some of these trout that you can catch on dry flies because nobody does it. So many people are so focused on salmon in that area because of Drano Lake and all that stuff. You can really catch a substantial trout.
We know you're serious when you start bringing the sledgehammer to the table too.
Oh yeah,
I mean, he's not lying.
well, so that's Washington side. Let's see.
The Oregon side, like, I mean, all those creeks, like Eagle Creek,
Right.
and everything that jumps into Columbia. Like, one of the real sneaker ones is like Multnomah Falls, like above the falls.
I can't even believe you said that. It's ruined my groove.
Yeah, sorry. Well, like, I've seen, like, just hiking around in there, and this is a very similar to your thing with Silver Falls, is that, like, 4 pools maybe above the actual falls. Like, I've seen 14-inch trout in there. It's like, it's crazy, and the thing is little. Now, you go and fish that, and they're gonna look at you like, what have you done?
I fixed that. I know how to do it. And listen, like, I brought this pack just to show this one for that, right? So there's a pillow in here to fill the pack. You're going to put your boots. You're obviously wet wading. I built this is a Lama Glass E-Glass 6-piece rod. Pull that thing out, Jade. Show the people. Because I wanted, if it was good, I didn't want anybody to ever know I was doing it. So I would leave it like 3:45, 4, get out there, start hiking up with a headlamp, boots, something to eat, a couple beers to put in the creek to get cold. And, you know, you're hiking up and they're like, oh, you better hurry up. It's getting dark quick. I'm like, oh, it's cool. I got a headlamp. You know what I mean? But I had that 6-piece rod just so I could put it inside my pack because I didn't want anybody to know what I was doing. This box of flies, a liter, not even 6.5. I mean, we're talking like no fluoro necessary. 4.5, 5.5, and 6X, and 5X liter. Bam. That's all you need to fish that thing. And then when you get done fishing in the dark, I mean, you know what the pools look like. I can't believe I've done that.
That's cool.
Right? So the last person is down before you're at the top. And when you're at the top, you put your boots on, put your beers and Snapple or whatever. You get cold, you take off and go fishing. You're only going to get a few pulls up the first night. Because I'm talking, if you're doing that so that no one's coming up, you got like an hour and a half to fish. And then the next time you go, you'll start where you left off. And the next time you go, you'll start where you left. So you start seeing more of it. And then you sit down on a rock and grab your sandwich and a beer and you hike down the trail in the pitch dark with your headlamp on. Scary when you're by yourself. You start thinking there's a mountain lion.
Well,
they start walking a little probably walking a little faster. And there might be, but who knows? But it's super cool and the fishing's fun.
I mean, you're 40 minutes,
Humpy hatch every day. It's not a humpy hatch, it's a wolf.
and you're 40 minutes out of Fort.
Super simple.
Right.
Yeah.
Easy to do.
And then if you get hungry, you can get some really overpriced chicken nuggets at that little restaurant.
I mean, that's so fun that I'm not even talking about a Beulah rod.
And there's also
I find it weird to park in the middle of the highway though, between
yeah, and all those little creeks, like, I mean, Bridal Veil, all those things have fish, right? Because those waterfalls are all running year round, right? But it's crazy,
and they're
until
cold.
you see it, that like there's an actual fish up there. Because like the first time I was hiking that, I was like, no, of course I'm an angler, so I like have to look. And my wife was like, "Are we gonna go yet?" And, you know, you're looking there and you're like, oh my God, there is a fish there. And you're just like, oh, that's bigger than I thought. So there are fish in every single one of those.
Some of them are that big.
Yes, you're going to get some small ones.
But I mean, you know, we would, I forget the name of the creek, but the creek that flows into Beacon Rock, that state park, we hiked above that. And what you find is it's a nothing, there's no water until there's a beaver dam, and it's almost like a staircase of beaver dams, pool, and then no water, and beaver dam, pool, no water. And every single one of those pools had a 12 to 14 inch, you know, fish that would eat an elk hair caddis right now because I've never seen a fly. So like you literally cast it and catch the fish in that beaver pool and then stair step to the next one.
They're the dominators too. They're in the front of the line of the feed train. You got to figure out where that is. You got to figure out your position to cast to get your fly into that lane. They're not,
and don't mess up.
To show like, yeah, right.
Once if you set that hook too soon, that fish is probably not coming back.
No.
So like, you know, make it count. But like that first shot, it doesn't matter what it is.
And if I like some of the prime lies, you know, because you went there, right?
Yeah.
And you also know that there's 4 or 5 fish in the pool, and those 9 and 11 is ones aren't. So like, are you going to start and try to pick off a couple fish, pull them out, and then go get the big boy, or are you just going for the big boy in the next pool? But have a plan when you're fishing these little creeks, because like you don't like fluoro, You don't want to change flies usually on a refusal because they're usually not coming back.
Yeah.
You make a bad cast, it's bad. But yeah, you got to make your mind up how you're going to face the pool. Right?
It's almost like they're not as technical, but it's almost like fishing a little Metolius, right? You can see them, you can prep for it, and you can give that like presentation and hunt it just like you're bow hunting or whatever you want.
Here's your 14-inch that shoots fish, right? Barely get bottom to top. These 14-inch fish up here, we're talking about a little different, right? That's a 14-inch fish we're talking about.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, they're going to be skinnier. They don't get as much food.
different, but they're awesome.
Yeah,
And they're pretty, and they're fun, and they're willing.
So I guess there's almost too many creeks to name in the gorge. So again, get some sort of map behind you and really make a state. I mean, that fishing in Oregon book plus a map of the state plus like Onyx or something.
Google.
You're rock and roll. Like you can get it done. Just believe me when I tell you, most every single one of these creeks. Where am I from? Creeks. Let's talk like
What is the difference between a creek and a creek?
your zip code.
Alabama to
Zip
Portland.
code. They have fish. Like all of them have fish. The dirt and the geology just pretty much says so. If they've got water and cold water, there will be trout in these. Based on the alkali in the water alone. Like now we're getting into good trout country. So go east with confidence. Now along with that, east is better for bass. So once we get above Bonneville, and that means we get out of tidal influence on the Columbia, the bass fishing on the Columbia explodes. Like it becomes really legendary, epic, because now you've got stable water conditions and they don't move with every tide change. That's the problem with below the Columbia. Every tide change, like the bass move, and every tide change is a different level, right? So it's really, really hard to figure out. You get above above Bonneville, Stevenson area, stuff like that. You have stable water conditions that you can plan on. You find a spot, that spot's going to be good for the rest of the year. So bass fishing up there is really, really good. You also get really good carp fishing up there. You get pretty good carp fishing in the lower Columbia, but you got to search around for them. Again, tidal. Here one day, gone the next. But for your stable carp fishing, the Columbia above Bonneville is freaking awesome. Like it's really, really good.
I want to add one more thing to that carp fishing too. Is Salvi's Island?
Yeah.
Right. This isn't
That's
gorge.
yeah.
But like that, that is a very, very close fishery. Now in the spring, it's excellent because you got a lot of flooded fields and all this other stuff. In the summer, it is a little gross and smells a lot like cow poo. So like, just know what you're getting yourself into. I will still, like, if I wanted something really close, and there's some stuff on the Vancouver side as well, but like, you just deal with the smell or deal with the grossness, and you can still catch a lot of carp very, very, very close to Portland. It is 100% a thing. And even that like lower part, like there's carp in the Sandy River Delta, right? Like that's like a thing you can walk out to.
Yeah.
And
Time out. Leave your 3-weight at home.
yeah, leave your 3-weight at home. Like typically you're going to have a 7 or 8 weight. Your flies, of course, are going to be different than a humpy, but like, carp fishing in the Columbia is insane. It's more people would do it as long as if the fish's mouth was like positioned better, but like it's pointed down. So people are like, ew.
If carp had a redfish face, they'd be the number one game fish around. Like it's just the sucker mouth and that turns people off. They are a lot of fun.
That is the best bone fishing practice you can do if you're going to a flat. Go figure out how to lay down a fly and not spook a carp in your end.
They can be very technical, but they do eat very well. If you make the right presentation, the right cast, you do get rewarded, unlike steelhead, where you can do everything right and get your ass kicked. Carp usually play along. The only thing is if you're fishing Sandy River Delta or those areas, a journal, a log will be your best friend. So if you go there and you find fish and fish are around, write down what the tide was, because the tide being different all the time, different levels, they won't always be there. They're going to move other places. So just keep a journal and really know like what the tide was, and then write down where you saw them, because then you're going to be able to start planning your days based on the tides. And you can get repeatable results that way. If you just go willy-nilly, the odds of hitting the spot in the Columbia with the fish present at the right tide, like it becomes really tricky. So,
and watch flows. Like, it's not a bad idea to record flows, especially if you're in the spring when the river's not as stable.
yeah, carper's going to require more effort on your part to get consistent for sure than just creeking for trout, right? But but it's really close. I mean, we're talking 10 minutes up 84, and you can get into some, good carp fishing. So,
Yeah.
And then real quick, moving up 84, we haven't talked a lot about lakes just because there's too many to cover in an hour-long podcast. There's literally just an ocean of lakes surrounding us. But an easy after work is just driving up 84, and all those 84 lakes like Benson and all of those either have trout or bass or crappie or sunfish or all, and so that is just an easy solution just to take a little drive and smell some desert air and get into some fishing after work and then take a beautiful drive home, 84. 84 is really one of the prettiest roads, in existence. So, but all those 84 ponds are connected to the Columbia, via culvert underneath. And so fish move in and out quite a bit. And you can get some really, really good smallmouth fishing and stuff out of those ponds.
Yeah. And I'm going to talk about my baby.
What's your baby?
So there's one other thing, and Jason hates I get into this time of year.
Not great.
So,
This.
this.
I know where we're going.
So the one thing that you have that not a lot of people think about and very few people do, and you only have about a month and a half to do this, and this is close. Like, I'll go do it for like an hour or two of fishing, and you can go and catch maybe 20 or 30 fish. On a really good day, you might catch 50 fish. But there's this thing called American shad. Yeah, you knew it was coming.
I was fishing there last night with an overhead rod. Got spanked, not even a eat with a bass.
Yeah. So in about June. So June is the time frame. I don't want to go too deep in this. I think we'll do a podcast on it because I can talk about it for freaking hours.
That would be its own podcast.
We'll probably just do a video on it, honestly, so people can see exactly where you go, so they can beat you.
Exactly. So, below Bonneville, the Columbia, Beacon Rock, the Oregon side, like, all these are opportunities that you can go out for basically the month of June and part of July and go chase American shad. We have 7 million that come up the Columbia. That's insane. That is the largest run in the world, and so few people are doing this, and they are so easy to catch on a fly rod. And the opportunity that you have for those months, and what's even great is, like, it doesn't matter if it's hot, doesn't matter if it's cold, they're there.
Are you breaking 3 weights on them, or are you taking 4 weights?
I'm using a 3-weight, but I'm using that 3-weight trout spay.
We're going to go over quickly some of the gear that we use and that's kind of proper for this to get the most out of your evening and just have the most fun possible.
When it goes to gear, I'm a ref, so I'm out. You know what I'd use.
Nah, I mean,
Nick, what would you use?
we use.
Well, we'll just talk like
You go to the same.
So if you're gonna go and you're gonna chase any of these coastal cutthroat and you're chasing the resident cutthroat, a 3-weight rod is probably one of the best things because you have a lot of fun. If you catch a 6-inch fish, you're still having a blast. If you catch a 10-inch fish, still having a blast. You catch a 14-inch fish, oh my god! But you can still land it easy on a 3-weight.
These rods that are useless for the Deschutes River, mop and Warm Springs to Trout Creek.
Can you use a 4 and a 5-weight? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You'll just have a little bit more fun with lighter tackle.
Gear. I like the lumbar packs. I like to be able to have everything behind me as you're crawling through branches and getting whacked in the face with trees. When the lumbar packs are directly behind me, then it doesn't get caught on blackberries, branches, all that stuff nearly as easy. Sling bags are another good way to go. What I don't want ever is a vest. A traditional vest, creaking, do not want, not interested. That's it. But I want things that are behind me. So as I'm crawling through brush, it's just less to get hung up on. That's my main concern with that.
The fly line side of things, I would have to say that if you're dealing with like small creeks and smaller rivers, you don't want a really long head. right? I want like a lot of the manufacturers make like a creek line, right? Where the head is maybe 20 feet long to like 30 feet long. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to load the rod at a very short distance. And so if you're only trying to cast 10 feet, it's going to cast it nice. If you're using like a light, delicate presentation taper, a lot of those lines don't throw nice till they're like 40 feet out. I don't know what tiny creek I'm ever casting 40 feet. So like those lines just don't really apply. So if you're really getting into this light creeking thing, and you should, like make sure that of a fly line, find something with a very short head. So leaders, Bruce, since you're the trout hunter guy, what leader would you use for most situations like creeking or going out? And
our popular leaders have been 14 footers, 10 footers,
Wrong.
and 8 footers.
Right.
Right? So for creeking, this is an interesting leader too, because it was really designed with a fairly short butt, a fairly short taper, and it's thin. So the idea was to be able to dry fly fish, but really to drop nymphs into pocket water and get them down fast.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's exactly
by the benefit of it being short and easy to cast, it turns over. I mean, the chubbies we're fishing on these creeks are like 12's huge, 16's small, 14, 16's are your normal every day. We're talking about size 16 to 18 flies. I mean, the 8 foot 5 weight, I don't think you need 6 weight. You definitely don't need fluorocarbon. If you do find some picky fish, grab some spools of tippet, and you can either shorten it and go back to 8 feet, or you can extend it to a 9 foot leader. If you're going real, what are they, 7.5 feet?
yeah,
Yeah, go trout hunter. You'll like yourself better. And that's easy, right? Just a leader. You might fudge one in a tree. A second leader in your pack and a couple spools of tippet. I mean, realistically, 5 and 5.5. That's bam, bam, and bam.
Yeah. And
let's go to the next thing for gear. I think the best pair of waders for most of this fishing started in the last week of May through July. The best pair of waders is a pair of quick dry pants, boots, socks.
yeah.
Quick dry stuff, way better. I mean, there's just too many log jams. There's too many broken, fallen trees. You're just going to tear your waders up.
no, this
And wet wading feels great. It's easy.
a little point of the story, right?
Yeah.
Like,
100% wet. Get out of the waders.
I mean,
It's cool. Feels great.
yeah, that's kind of like the point of this whole thing is just shorts, boots, go.
Yeah.
And
Minimum.
there's some people that just love wearing their waders, but I can tell you, like in that, when you get to that steep hill and you got to go, oh, hell, I can't even cross the river right here. I got to go back downstream to that tail, out across, go up the cliff, around. Now you're sweating bullets, hating those waders.
And your waders, like,
They're taking that
they don't
necessary abuse.
Exactly. If you want to wear out your waders, we love it when you do, because and then you need more. Like save them, like use them back when it's in the fall, because bushwhacking through like brush is not the best thing on those things.
No, and to premise that real quick, when you buy a very expensive pair of waders, you are not paying for durability, all right? You're paying for features, you're paying for material, you're paying for breathability. But just because you buy a pair of $700 Gore-Tex waders does not mean you're buying the toughest wader that's going to be able to stand up to this stuff, because they are not made to do this. You're buying a pair of waders that's going to be feature-rich with the most comfort and breathability available, but not the most durable. You want the most durable wader, you would never wear it in a million years. It'd be like straight rubberized canvas.
Yeah,
Like that.
it'll be durable and you'd die.
Yeah. So
yeah.
We
So
already went through that phase. It was called neoprene.
Yeah,
No
exactly.
one likes it.
and then real quick, something small, little pocket box like this, just goes. This is you
Double
fill
side
it
waterproof.
You fill this up, dry flies, couple nymphs, whatever. Like you are set probably for most of the summer, right? We're gonna have these around, just kind of pre-filled for you if you just want to like a grab and go. But
Perfect creek box.
I mean, look at that. Like you're off to the races. Like you're done. You're loaded for bear. So anything that you could possibly need will fit in these little guys. Let's go into the fun part, because Bruce is a fly dork. I don't know anybody really who loves flies more than this guy, and it's a lot of fun hearing him get excited about flies. I like flies, but he
Walk into a shop and not look.
he likes flies. Like it's right. So we're gonna do cut. We're gonna have Bruce talk about these flies here real quick. So here we go. Cut scene.
Big to small. So here's.
Hold on, dude. Cut scene.
I was revved up.
Let's go, lady.
Probably the biggest one when we're talking about creeking in the valley, on the coast, wherever, that's going to be about as big as I go with. That's a double stack chubby, so it floats extra good. Fish will eat that. It's royal, so it can be versatile. Could it be a hellgrammite? Could it be just something floating? Yes, but that's mainly going to be used when fishing's tougher to float these guys, which are going to be Euro nymphs. Maybe even going to put a soft tackle behind that. I might even go double dry. If it's really dark and I can't see, I might put like a yellow Sally behind it, but that's going to float. So that's in my box. It's there for a reason. It's generally to float something else or go double dry. Rarely am I going to fish one that big by itself. So there's that fly. We're going to move on. So here is black and red, phenomenal creeking. Black and purple, phenomenal. And black peacock and a golden in this range. Those are going to be pretty fun pretty much all summer. Chuck and chance flies. They're easy to cast. They float really well. You can put smaller things under it, like a little soft tackle, but you generally don't need to. These are going to be your mainstays, 14s or 16s. This is your chuck and chance. I wouldn't say any one of these flies is better on like the Clack or the Molalla or Abacaw Creek or Salmon River or Eagle Creek on the Clackamas or whatever. Last Tuesday, they were eating this one and you got 40 eats. The first 5 casts, they don't eat it. I'm changing to purple. They don't eat that. I'm changing to smaller and going to peacock back to a 16. And then if I need to, I change from there. Usually you don't have to. That's the fun about this is that kind of there's a humpy hatch and it happens daily. So there's the chubby story. Then I want a terrestrial. I'm picking a terrestrial chubby. That's going to be my grasshopper and just something dark and fun to fish with. Again, that's size 14. That's called the Fool's Gold. This is something like on the Molalla, on the Salmon River. Sometimes they're almost biblical with yellow sallies. They're going to be sometimes hitting the water and fish are going to be eating them, but they'll be 10 to 15 feet above your head. They'll be cliff wall and trees to cliff wall and trees, and they'll be biblical, and they're going to be going either up and downstream with whichever way the wind's going. Sometimes a little foam guy is going to work. Sometimes a little bit more subdued Sally. I believe that's called Goldie Hawn. It's a little smaller, but have a couple of those. Have something yellow in your box. Now we're going to step down into Humpy. Super fun to fish with. We've got Royal Chartreuse. We've got black. 16s are the size. We've got Royal Red. Occasionally you might want one a little bit bigger. Grab one of your Humpies and get them a little bit bigger. Those are going to be chuck and chance it. Super fun. That's probably going to be my first fly out of the box in most rivers. If I don't need to go any more specific or technical, Humpies are fun to fish with. And that is only outdone by Royal Wolf. These have to be in the box. Probably, especially on the Clackamas. Definitely on Eagle Creek. And 18's your friend. I know they're a little smaller than you probably want to buy, but I would rather have a little bit more of a tough time getting my tippet through the eye of a size 18 and getting it tied on than take a 14 and not set the hook as often. Size 18, Royal Wolf. Awesome choice. That's how many of those outweigh. That's how important I think this fly is. Patriot's my number one fly most of the time out if I'm not going with a big chubby or the like. This is called a Patriot. It's blue, red, and blue. It's tied like a parachute Adams kind of with a split tail. Phenomenal. Size 16's your friend on this one. Have lots of them.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We have an endless miles of opportunity for whether you live in Portland or you're just visiting. Tons of opportunities to hit after work. Whether you want gear questions, you got fly box questions, fly questions, we can service all of that. Just shoot us your emails. Come in with questions. We're here to help you out. We have all the answers you could ever hope. So, but anyway, we want to help you, and we want to help you like get the best summer of your life, just fishing your butts off. And really, making the most of the weather we have. We spent a long winter getting to this point, so it's time to make the most of this. Hope to see you in the shop. Thanks a ton. See you next week.
And thanks again, Bruce, for coming on. Thanks, Bruce. Oh, yeah, Bruce. Thanks for coming, Bruce, and carrying Iron College. Yeah, this is BIPOC.
That is how
dare you.
Thought I'd be super nervous. It's problem with the famous for having me. Dude, no, I am not.
Yes, thank you, Bruce, for coming. I'm sure we'll try to have you back on.
Thanks for having me.
And this doesn't come together without you, the viewers.
Yeah.
So thank you for logging on and watching this. If you guys, again, end up with questions as well, we are here for you. We want you to be the best angler that you can be. So, like, this podcast has so much information in it, but we still can't tell you every exact thing because that would probably take 13 hours. So if you have more questions, call, email, come in. That's the best. And we will hopefully have some fly boxes as well set aside for you. That'll just kind of be like the creeking special.
I'm making all of them personally.
Yeah, exactly. The fly wizard.
And then I got interested in this just because I love the idea you hear so much, like, oh, fishing's great, but it requires a whole day. And it oftentimes does. I love this idea of you can do it on a weekday. You can do yard work until 1 on a Saturday. You can go to your kid's game, baseball, whatever, and you can still get what feels like a full day of fishing in. Yeah, this is a great topic and super fun. It's something I'm passionate about.
Cool. And then, sorry.
And if you want, like, come and share your photos with us. Like, we love seeing, like, people that go out and explore new creeks. I mean, you don't have to give us your secret spot, like, because so much of this creeking stuff can be, you know, the hidden gem. But, yeah, I mean, I still get excited when someone shows a really cool fish that they caught in some really remote spot. So, share it.
When you don't see anybody, you don't want to see near. You're not going to sell your spots, but it's safe here.
Jim's and you can talk now.
Okay, real quick before we wrap it totally up, I want to thank everybody from the bottom of our hearts that took the time to watch our first podcast, and then everybody that made such really nice comments. It was really humbling to have such great comments and positivity. So as a shop, from all of us, just thank you so much for supporting the first episode. That is the whole reason that we have a second episode. So again, thanks so much. It means the world, and we hope to bring you as much awesome information as in the future as possible. Thank you.